Hey, second grade, how are you today? Ooh, more story problems coming our way. I'm very excited. Oh my goodness. Let's get our targets ready and then we're going to really dive in deep. I'm very excited about this. Ooh, we're getting into some tricky ones here. I can use drawings or models and equations to solve add to start unknown problems. So, we've solved lots of different problems. Okay, models, remember, just a picture, and we know equations are number sentence, and we're solving those add to. So we get to add today, but the start is unknown, and so we've been putting numbers together, and we've been taking them apart. But the ones we're diving into today are a little different and a little bit trickier. But I think you're going to be rock stars with it. First thing we have to do as mathematicians is think, what do we need to do when we have a story problem we have to think about? What are some of those things we have to ask ourselves when we have a problem that we need to solve? We got to ask ourselves, what do we know? Absolutely. What else we need to ask ourselves? What are we trying to figure out? Absolutely. And then we have to ask ourselves what? What's our action going to be, right? Are we adding? Are we subtracting? Once we know what we know and what we're trying to figure out, we have to figure out how we're going to solve for that. Okay? One thing we really want to make sure that we're doing as mathematicians in second grade is writing an equation to match our story. And every time we do that, we really want a square or a box for the unknown. So we really show that we don't know what that part is, okay, or the whole. So I have two problems for us today to think about. And they're different problems, but there's a lot of things that are similar too. So my first one, I'm going to read to you as I put it up. It says Tommy has 4 video games on his shelf. He puts 11 more on his shelf. How many are on his shelf now? Here's the other one. Tommy has some video games on his shelf. He puts 11 more on the shelf. Now he has 15 video games on the shelf. How many games were on the shelf to start? There are lots of things that are similar about these problems, but there's some things that are different too. What equation would you write to match each of these? Take a moment and write the equation that you would write that would match each of these stories. 2 different equations. What would you write? What would you write for the first one? Tommy has 4 video games. He puts 11 more, so you're adding, okay. And we don't know how many are on his shelf now. Okay, so he had 4. He put 11 more. How many are on the shelf now? We know he had 4. We know he got 11 more. And what are we trying to find out? How many are on the shelf now? How about this bub? This little fun one. He has some video games. I hear somebody shouting out saying that we need to have a box first. Do you agree with that? A box first? Why do we need to have the box first? Some video games on his shelf. Then what? 11 more. And now there's 15. We already know that, right? What is our unknown? What are we trying to figure out? How many games were on the shelf to start? Yes. Look at these 2 equations. What do you notice? What's the same? They both have an 11. Yeah. They're both adding. Yes. What's different? 4 to start? Don't know where to start. don't know how many were there at the end. There were 15 at the end. We've seen this kind before, haven't we? We sure have. These are our newbies. When we say add to, start unknown, we're adding to, and our start is unknown. We don't know what our start is. We don't know where to begin, right? We don't know what the first part of our story problem is. We have to solve for that unknown. So now I want us to take a moment and I want us to solve a problem. And before we start working, we make sure that we need to think about, what do we know? What are we trying to find out? And we want to write an equation to match that story. So we have kind of an idea of where we're going with this work. Let's read it together. And then we're going to share what we know and what we're trying to find out. Olivia had some shells. Her friend gave her 8 more. Now she has 15 shells. How many shells did she have to start with? Olivia had some shells. Her friend gave her 8 more. Now she has 15 shells. How many shells did she have to start with? What do we already know? She had some shells. Do we know how many she had? Okay. Her friend gave her 8 more. Then she has 15. What are we trying to find out? How many shells did she have to start? There's that sum. What equation would we write to match this story? I see some of you already feverishly writing. What equation would you write to match this story? I see some friends wiggle waggling in the side of my eye. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. All that agreement. Why do we agree? How does this match this story? That's really what we're trying to get at, right? We want it to match our story. These are some shells that she started with. Her friend gave her 8 more. And then she has 15 shells. Okay. So our next job is to take some time and think, how might we solve for this unknown, right? How might we solve for that unknown? Take some private think time. I'm looking for some different ways to solve it. And then we're going to put up both of these strategies, both the strategies I'm looking for. And then we will find out how they're the same and different and how they both help us find that. Let's see if you guys are on my same wavelength. Go ahead and get started. Where are you starting? Then what are you doing? Okay. How do you know where to stop? Where are you starting? Are you adding or subtracting? Where's the part that you know? What equation would you write to match that work? Okay, we're going to be coming together in 5, 4, 3, 2. Pencils should be down by the time I get to done. 2, 1, and done. Pencils in the resting spots and eyes are up here. I have one of my friends back here share their strategy. Okay, so you started with 8. Why did you start with 8? Because you know you can flip-flop those. Okay, so then what did you do? 9. How did you know where to stop? Okay? And where's your unknown add-in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So how many shells did she have to start? Started with 8. So what equation did you write to match that work? So you just flip-flop those. If you know blank plus 8, then you know 8 plus blank. 7 more. It lands you on 15. I'm seeing some wiggle waggles. This was one of those that I saw a lot of solving this problem. There's another one I want to share out. Let's see if we can talk about that one too. Can I have you share your strategy? What did you put in your 10 frames? What does that 15 represent? All of her shells. There's those 15 shells. Okay, then what did you do next? Took away 8. What did you have left? How did you know that was 7? That was pretty quick. 5, 6, 7. All right. What equation did you write to match this work? Started with 15. You took away your 8, and you had 7 left over. So where are the shells that she had at the beginning? Up here. Where are the shells that she got from her friend? Where are the shells that she has now? How about over here? Where are the shells that she had to start? Where are the shells that she got from her friend? Where are the shells that she has all together? All the 8, and then the 7 more, which was 15 altogether. Let's take a look at these two strategies. They're very different, some are the same. We're going to have a moment to turn and talk to our friends after we have some private think time. I want you to think to yourself, and I want you to think about one thing that is similar between these two strategies. And then I want you to think of one thing that's different. So you're going to keep 2 things in your brains. What's one thing that's the same, right? What's similar between the two of these? And then one thing that's different. And you and your partner might say some of the same things, but I'm going to take a moment. And when I see thumbs in front of your tummies, I'll know that we are ready to turn and talk to our partners. Take some private think time. Same, different. And when you have both of those things in your brain, thumb in front of your tummy, and I'll know we can go ahead and turn and share with our partners. Go ahead. All right, I want you to turn and share. Turn to your partner, knee to knee, eye to eye. And my A's, you're going to go ahead and go first today. Share one thing that's the same, one thing that's different, and B's, you're just going to listen. And then we'll flip-flop. Hearing some great conversations. What was the same? The numbers. What was different? One added, one subtracted. Can I have you share that with us? All right, Holy guacamole. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And done. Look at those. You're turning and facing me already. Awesome. What was similar between these two? Over here. They both had 15. Okay. I'm gonna underline that. Both had 15. What else was this? What else was similar? Both had an 8. They both got 7 as the answer, right? What's different? This little friend had a great idea. Added. Subtracted. Can we do that? Can we add and subtract to solve a problem? Sure can. If we were going to put those numbers in a number bond, where would they go? Those same numbers that we just added or subtracted. 7 is what she had to start. 8 is the other part. Oh, look, we're rhyming. 15 is the whole. How many she had all together. To start, more, whole. Part plus part equals whole. Starting with the whole, taking away a part to find the missing part. Friends, we're not going to stay away from this one for very long. I'm going to leave this up. I do want us to take some time to try to give us some practice on our own. So you have a page of different problems. They are all story problems. So you have a big, important job. You're going to read each of them to yourself. You're going to ask yourself, what do I know? What am I trying to figure out? You're going to write an equation to match the story like we did here. And for each of those. And then you get to go ahead and solve it. And maybe you solve it by adding. And maybe you solve it by subtracting. But we're going to keep coming back to the relationship between those numbers and how they're connected. You guys have noticed, no matter what, that those numbers aren't changing, right? The symbol might change. We might add or subtract. But the numbers are not changing. And I want you to put that knowledge to use as you're working on your own. So, mathematicians, head on back to your seats. Go ahead. What do you know? What are you trying to figure out? Write an equation to match and then solve. I'm excited to see some of the work that we do.